In the last video, we learned all about pie charts, a way to analyze and express data. And in this video, I'm going to show you another way that we can express data with frequency histograms. Chapter 4, Using Frequency Histograms. Learning goals. Learn the steps of making a frequency histogram and being able to draw a frequency histogram. Being able to obtain data from the frequency distribution table and frequency histogram and make reasonable judgments and predictions. So here's the introduction to our lesson. Books are the ladder of human progress. What kind of books do students like to read out of class? So there's literature, A, history, B, popular science, C, comics/graphic novels, D. The following are the favorite books of 50 classmates of Class 7. 1. Investigated by Lillian, and the results are as follows. So, according to the questionnaire shown over here, Lillian wrote down all the results, whether it was the selection was A, B, or C, or D. Based on the above results, can you quickly tell which type of book the classmates like to read the most? What is his data representation? So, sometimes when you just put out all the data like this, it's sometimes even easier to just see what value comes out the most, what value is the most frequent. And over here, I do see a lot of A's. They're everywhere. So there's A, and there's many A's. And I can quickly compare that to the amount of C, B, and D. An A over here, as shown, is literature. It seems like the favorite books of the 50 classmates of Class 7 is literature. Using frequency histograms to represent data. The following table is a recorded information of some students' test scores after a test. This is the student number. We'll assume each student has a testing number, the gender of the student, English test scores, math test scores, and science test scores. And then here's just another table. First, can you use an appropriate statistical chart to show the English performance of the class? Can you tell from your chart which range most students fall into? What is the overall distribution of the grades? So over here, we're going to compare this table with this table. So first what I did was I made the ranges of the English test scores. I saw around what's the lowest value for English test scores, what's the highest value, and I used that information to then fill in the English test score ranges, which is about 31 to 60, the next range is 61 to 80, the next range is 81 to 100, and this is good enough for this particular investigation. Then I look at the number of people from all of these, so the English test scores, and then there's another English. You know what, I'll show you. So English test scores, and there's other English test scores, right? And then I put all of them depending on which range they fell into. Then after I would make the bar chart, which say over here I made the values of 0, 3, 6, 9 by 3s because I thought that would cover most of the space I needed. Then there was 81 to 100 in all these ranges and how much people graphed onto here. And then you can really see the comparison, which is these are both 5s and this is 4. So this is called the frequency distribution table. And what it does is it graphs out the frequencies of different values. And after we graph the data out from the frequency distribution table, we'll get what is called a bar chart, because it is a chart and the data is graphed by bars. So whip out your notebook and pen, and then let's do some discussions. What is the differences and similarities between the bar graph and the frequency histogram? So what do you think? Write out your thoughts on your notepad. Well, the similarities are both purposes is to visually express the specific quantities. The frequency histogram is a special bar chart. Differences. The bar chart is a visual display of the specific data. The frequency histogram shows a distribution of frequencies. 3. Different drawings forms the bars of the bar graph are separated. The bars of the frequency histogram are connected together. Creating frequency histograms. Example 1. In order to understand the weight of newborns in a certain area, a hospital randomly collected the birth weights of 60 newborns in the area. The results, unit grams, are as follows. And then you can see 60 pieces of data about each of the birth weights of newborns in an area in grams. After group the data appropriately and draw the corresponding frequency histogram, which reflects the weight of newborns in the area. So first, we find the largest and smallest value. The smallest value is 1,900 grams and the largest is 4,160 grams. And as I talk through this, I want you to do it with me. Then, we split the data into groups. The difference between the largest and smallest value is 4,160 minus 1,900, which is equal to 2,260. And we can consider 250 as each group's width. And that we take the difference and the group's width, which is 2,260 and 250, and we divide them, which will get 9.04. So we can split the data into 10 equal groups. Into 10 groups. After that, we count the number of occurrences of data in each group, and we create the following table. So we have the group, so the group range, and then we'll fill in how much people, which I wrote as pop, but we'll fill in how much people that fits into each group. So for a group range 1,750 to 2,000, and this is what it will look like. So 1, 1, 1 through 9, 7, 15, 10, 9, 4. Next, we draw the frequency histogram. So from the above data, we get this. And this particular bar over here, 3,250, which has 14 people in it, has the most. So it can be seen from the figure that the number of newborns with a body weight of 3,250 to 3,500 grams is the largest in this area. So the discussions. What are the general steps to make a frequency histogram? Well, first, we find the maximum and minimum values in the given data and find the difference between the maximum and minimum to determine the range of statistics. So this difference right here, the difference between the most and least value, is called the range. 2. We determine the number of groups in group distance and group. The number of data is within 100, generally divided into 5 to 12 groups. And 3. We counted the frequency of data in each group. 4. According to the grouping and frequency, we can draw a frequency histogram to graph the data. So in this class, we continued the learning of analyzing and expressing data from the last lesson, which was focused on pie graphs, on pie charts. This time we learned all about frequency histograms, and we learned about using frequency histograms to represent data and creating frequency histograms. And when we used frequency histograms to represent data, we learned about abstracting information out about our charts and abstracting information from frequency histograms. We also learned about the steps of creating frequency histograms, which was first find the range of values of the values. 2. Determine the number of groups and group distance and group. So how much groups are there? What's the width of each group? And the groups. 3. Count the frequency of data in each group, and we would draw the frequency histogram. The 2 skills we learned today was learning the steps of making a frequency histogram and being able to draw a frequency histogram. being able to obtain data from the frequency distribution table and frequency histogram, and make reasonable judgments and projections.